And Mark is on, so I think that's everybody because I know Tom and Mark weren't on when I stated that Ross and Lloyd had told me ahead of time that they would not be here today. So I think we have everybody. Lily, are you ready for us?
Yes.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Almond,
On Zoom.
Commissioner Angela,
Here.
Commissioner Barish,
Here.
Commissioner Diamond,
Yes, I'm here.
Commissioner Liberty. Oh,
He's absent by whatever the correct wording is, sorry.
Rearrangement.
Rearranged, thank you.
Commissioner Myrtle,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Rich,
Here.
Commissioner Riley,
I'm here.
Commissioner Weir is also absent by prior arrangement, and Chair Moscotti.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Happy August. So we are on 3A, approval of minutes from the June 23rd, 2021 meeting. Do I have any committee comments? None. Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll move that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any public comment? Thank you. Lily, will you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Almond,
I can't vote on it because I didn't attend the whole meeting.
Commissioner Angela,
Yes.
Commissioner Barish,
Yes.
Commissioner Diamond,
Yes.
Commissioner Myrtle,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rich,
Abstain.
Commissioner Riley,
Yes.
and Chair Moscotti.
Yes. Thank you. And now we move on to August 2021 fiscal financial report. Commissioner Miller, please.
Good afternoon. I'm going to hand it over to our fiscal person, Andrea.
Andrea, please. She's on, but she's muted.
She said she got kicked off, but she's trying to get back on.
Okay, I think I'm back on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it kind of kicked me off there for a second. So I put the July, we haven't had, you'll see there's the July time for this fiscal year. We haven't really done much because it's just July. And then there's just a couple invoices that were paid in July for some of the CRT. And on there, I'm putting, some of the contracts are multi-year contracts. So I put the contract amount, what we paid in 2020 and then paid in 2021 and the remaining balance of the contract. So you guys can see what's going on with each contract that we have. And then then there's the 2021 report. And that's the final, there shouldn't be any other things coming in. It looks like everything is submitted. So I didn't know if there was any questions.
Committee members, please. None? Is there any community comment, please?
Yes.
Okay.
Sherry?
Sherry, there you are. Please go ahead.
Hi, good afternoon. So I just had two comments. One was on the 21-22 budget. I really only looked at the Behavioral Health Training Center, and I see the budget for this 21-22 year is $147,925, and let's see. So I guess the Adams Commercial, the contractor, shows a remaining balance to that contract of a little over 234,000, not including about 114,000 of invoices that are not included in the paid to date. And I'm wondering, is Adams Commercial expected to conclude that contract this year? Because, yeah, I guess that was my first question. And then the other question is in the expenditures mainly for salaries or employees. There's one for $17,851 for K Smallcomb. And I'm wondering what that is. I have never heard that name, and it's a lot of money. So I was just curious to know what that is. And then there's some small things, but they're not critical. They're just some typo things, but I'm not going to waste the committee's time with that. But yeah, Smallcomb, and when the Adams contract is expected to be completed. I guess I had those questions. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Appreciate it. Do we have any other community comment, Lily? And hold just one second, Shannon. None?
No.
Okay, Commissioner Riley, please.
Thank you. I would like responses to Sherry's questions as well. If there's anyone on staff who can provide those. I was curious to see Mr. Smallcomb's name on there as well, and had not heard of any action related to Measure B on his part.
So this is not Kirk. This is Katie Smallcomb. She is one of our mobile response individuals that is part of the mobile response program that we implemented with the sheriff's office that Measure B dollars are being spent on. And so Katie's salary is paid for by Measure B as we approve that as a Measure B expending to make that program. So it is not Kirk, it is Katie Smallcomb, and that's what she's doing.
That makes sense. Okay. And then the Adams contract?
Doctor, do you have any?
I have to see which ones the Adams is. Let me pull it up. Andy, do you know?
It's related to the training center.
I'm trying to pull up their contract.
Thank you.
Well, this is Allman, and if the question is are they on track? I stopped by there 2 weeks ago, and the guy in charge of the contract says they were on track to be finished in September. So I don't know if that answers a question or not, but that's their contractor's prediction.
Thank you, Tom. I think that's part of the question is the work on schedule, but also are they within their proposed budget?
Give me a second. I'm trying to look it up. I believe they are, but I don't know if I don't know anything about the work that they're doing.
And this is Allman again. Remember, their budget, as the Board of Supervisors budget, is not the same as ours because we didn't approve the sprinkler system, which was very expensive, and the Board of Supervisors approved that. So there's two different numbers there that I would answer that question if they're within budget.
That's interesting. So the report that we're viewing, does that reflect both of those budgets or just what Measure B committee approved?
That's a fair question. I don't have the answer. I think the Board of Supervisors or the clerk would be able, or maybe the CEO would be able to answer that.
Okay. And if Andrea would like some additional time to look for the answer to that, we could maybe move on and come back to that at the end of the meeting.
If you're fine with that, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I am.
Okay. Andrea, just let me know.
Okay,
when you are ready.
I'm trying to find it.
It looks like Sherry's hand is up again, or maybe still up.
It's still up. It's still up, and she can only talk once on the item. So, so we will move on and we will come back to the answers. 3C, update and discussion regarding Measure B related items at the Board of Supervisors meetings. Commissioner Miller, please.
Sure. So, the only thing I have to report is that we have two items. Well, we have one item going in front of the board on the 31st regarding the community outreach and education contract. So we went ahead and we did an RFP. We did a preliminary award for that RFP. The contract will be going in front of the board to approve the bidder that won and the dollar amounts, which Measure B already approved. That was part of that community outreach education awareness dollars. And so at this time, I cannot release the contractor's name. It will be public when it gets posted with the board on Thursday afternoon. And then obviously will be spoken to, it'll be on for the board agenda for the 31st. Just on a side note, so people know, there is an agenda item that is going in front of the board, not to say that this is Measure B related, but there is going to be a request for additional mental health dollars in our community due to the COVID-19 surge and the need to be able to provide services during this surge in a different way that has been done. Other than that, those are the only agenda items that I know that are going forward right now. There is generally an update in the CEO report on the projects, and I'll talk about the project update later. That it's agenda item, I think 3E, when that item comes.
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner Riley.
For Dr. Miller, you said there's a request for additional mental health dollars related to COVID. Request from whom?
The Behavioral Health Department is requesting. Like I said, it's not specific to Measure B, but I did want you guys to know that there is going to be a request for funds due to the COVID surge and trying to assist our hospitals with alternative options as they are full. And this surge is really impacting our emergency rooms. And I'll talk a little bit more about that, Shannon, during the update. But if you have more questions, I'm happy to answer them now too.
Well, I was just curious if they're making a request to the state or the federal government, or they're requesting Measure B funds.
We're requesting the Board of Supervisors to allocate additional funds. We're not saying where from. So the department is requesting. We are requesting additional funds to support our hospitals and the COVID response.
Okay.
It's not specific to Measure B. I'm just letting you guys know that there is going to be a request coming forward. There's no specific request where those funds will come from, but we are going to be bringing an item forward to request additional funding.
Okay, so other than the existing county funds, are there other possible sources where that money could come from? For example, state or federal allocations related to COVID?
Probably not. There could be some FEMA reimbursement for any of the overtime that staff provided for those services, but not that I know of right now.
Okay, so would it be safe to assume that Measure B is the most likely source of funding for that request?
I would say there's a variety of options that, the county could say Measure B. They could look at general funds. There's, not that I want to say this, PG&E funds. I mean, I don't know what the board will look at. I mean, they have things they're going to have to consider. So yes, would I say that Measure B could be an item the board considers? Of course, it could be a funding source they consider. But I just wanted you guys to know that we are asking, and I don't know if Measure B will be looked at as a funding source.
And do you know the dollar amount of that request at this time?
The request right now is about $550,000.
Thank you.
Any further committee comment, please? Seeing none, Lily, do we have any community comment on item 3C?
No.
Okay, thank you. Now we move on to 3D, discussion and possible action regarding the request for supplemental funding for a crisis respite in the city of Fort Bragg. Commissioner Myrtle, I believe this is you.
Hi, this is Mark. I just wanted to bring to you this opportunity we have for some mental health treatment in Fort Bragg. I've been working with the city of Fort Bragg ad hoc homeless committee. Had discussions with Janine Miller and RCS concerning the operation and the ability to operate one of these facilities here on the coast. And I believe we've come up with a pretty good solution where we have a lot of the different stakeholders that are involved in the mental health treatment side of things. And they brought this to our committee basically on a silver platter. They think they can get this crisis respite facility in operation within 6 months. The stakeholders here have come up with a solution to bring mental health crisis services to the coast. They're going to follow the successful Madrone House model of crisis services that they have in Redwood Valley. The City of Fort Bragg Homeless Ad Hoc Committee, the Fort Bragg Police Department, Adventist Health, and RCS have teamed up to provide these services. Adventist Health is willing to lease a facility to RCS at a discounted or basically nothing rate. RCS has agreed to operate the facility as they are operating the Madrone House as the model. City of Fort Bragg has agreed to support and find alternative funding sources to contribute to the program. What they're asking of Measure B is a marginal investment to get the program going and operational. What is needed is a commitment of $240,000 a year for 4 years. This will ensure that the coastal residents are sharing in the mental health services that other areas of the county are now funded and are getting. This cost only represents 2% of the $38 million that Measure B will generate. Mendocino coastal residents provide about 40% of the tax base. And I believe this is a win-win situation for both the coastal residents as well as the Measure B mission involved. At the end of the 4 years, the hope is to convert this crisis respite into a CRT where the other funding sources could support this facility. Finally, I know the path forward is unclear and the unknown cost for the PUF Behavioral Health Training Center and other programs. This is a solution that will help people now within 6 months. The benefits of the crisis respite services for the coast is far greater than the cost to support this program for 4 years. I ask for all your support in approving funds to provide support for mental health crisis facility on the Mendocino coast. I'm willing to take any questions or answer anything.
Thank you, Commissioner Myrtle, and thank you for bringing this forward. I want to, in transparency form, let everyone know that I am on the board of RCS, so I will have to abstain from this vote, just letting you know. And I believe Commissioner Allman has some committee comment.
Well, I think this is could be one of our best success stories here of getting all the stakeholders in agreement. And to the city of Fort Bragg and to Mark and to the stakeholders who have put time into this, I greatly appreciate this because this is exactly what Measure B was passed for, and it has 100% of my support. And this is a drop in the bucket of the services that need to be happening in Fort Bragg and on the coast. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Allman. Do I have any other further? Commissioner Angelo, is your hand up, please?
Yes, thank you. The only question I have about this proposal, and I'm asking Dr. Miller, really, I personally don't have the answer to this, but it looks like the proposal is coming in with a provider already on board. I mean, if you look at the letter that basically RCS is going to provide the service, And so I'm not certain, Janine, Dr. Miller, if we can just, I mean, are we saying we're just going to sole source to RCS for this, or are we going to do a competitive process? I'm not certain if we could just sole source this, but I don't know. So Dr. Miller, I'm really asking you.
Yeah, so the proposal is to sole source it with an exception to bid based on the recommendation from Fort Bragg was the recommendation to use this specific provider due to their relationship and the proven record that they already provide these services within Mendocino County. We don't have another provider within Mendocino County that provides crisis respite at this time. They are our sole provider, and they are the ones that are currently doing those services through the special mental health contract. So it would be an add-on to our special mental health in the sense of using Measure B to just kind of do what they're already doing in the Ukiah Valley area.
So basically you're saying that this would be paid for by Measure B. It's really just an expansion of services to the coast. And so to just go ahead and contract with RCS for this would be just a normal procedure. Sole source would be okay. I guess that's my only question is around sole source, because we find ourselves sole sourcing, a lot of services that I question technically if they should not be competitively bid. So, but you're saying this is basically an expansion of services to the coast.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rich, and then Commissioner Diamond.
I just want to bring the Behavioral Health Advisory Board perspective forward, and we are very much in favor of this proposal. It's in line with past recommendations to expand crisis services on the coast, and we would be supportive of using Measure B funds to do that.
Thank you, Commissioner Rich. Commissioner Diamond.
Yeah, I agree that having the kind of facility and resource on the coast is important, and certainly within the guidelines that we've been working in. My only question was one Mark alluded to, which is the one of the top priorities for Measure B has been the PUF unit, and I know that's been in the works, and there's already been some exploration of that. Do we have any update on that in terms of funding, and is this going to fit with any funding potential conflicts, or are we going to have enough money for both and so on? Any update? Maybe this is going to come under the next heading that Janine will be talking about, but that's my only concern about supporting this is the potential funding. Can we pay for it, and with the other priorities that we've committed to?
Perfect. Commissioner Allman, did you have something? I saw you light up. Nope. Commissioner Miller or Commissioner Myrtle, do you have an answer for Jed?
It's hard to say, Jed. For me to say what the finances are going to look like, I think the funding will be fine. There was a project we had planned to move forward with for the coast, which was $1 million to focus on homeless housing. That was originally part of our one of the recommendations we made to the Board of Supervisors that they did not support. They put it on hold. So I think it's an easy changeover. That $1 million was already projected that we could use it and still have funding for the PUF. So I think this is right within those dollar amounts and definitely doable. We do know what the PUF is going to cost us to run based on the estimate we received from Telecare, depending on whether we do a regular PUF or a super PUF, and when that can actually open and what that looks like. I think we still, that's still a study to be done on how quickly can we renovate, rebuild a facility and have them up and running. But based on that $1 million that we didn't use that was already projected along with the PUF, I think the money's there.
Thanks, Janine. That's helpful.
Any other committee oh, yes, Commissioner Riley, please.
Sorry, trying to unmute. Conceptually, I'm very supportive of this proposal, and I do agree that this is exactly what Measure B was really created to do. I do have a couple of concerns, and one is related to the sustainability of the project. The staff report states that this request is for 4 years, and that over these next 4 years, additional funding streams will be explored, including grants to sustain the program long term. And that sounds pretty fuzzy to me in my experience with programs that do not have a sustainable source of funding, and harkens back a bit to the PUF that we lost because it wasn't sustainable. That, in combination with the fact that the county doesn't own this facility, which was a concern that was previously stated by members of this committee in relation to a PUF or other types of facilities. So here we are investing about $1 million in a facility that we don't own. And again, committee members have previously expressed concern about that, and which we have really no assurance that it's sustainable. So those are my concerns.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley. Commissioner Miller or Commissioner Myrtle, do you have a response, please?
I'll respond. Yeah,
Thank you.
Shannon, that was my thought exactly. And I think much like you do. And that was one of the questions that I have. And basically, we don't have any insurance. But what we do have is we have commitments from many stakeholders to make this scenario happen. Possibly if this could be turned into a formal crisis residential treatment, some other funds could be redirected that was going into hospitalizations that possibly could support this. There's funds from, possibly we could get more participation from Adventist Health or from other city grants that the city of Fort Bragg puts forward. Or maybe they need to come back to Measure B to support this. This is what Measure B funds were made for. And if we know that, hey, this is what's going to be required, and they look at the prioritization of the CRT in Ukiah, the PUF in Ukiah, and the Behavioral Health Training Center in this facility, and they decide who's getting what. And if they can't support those facilities, then we're going to have to find other funding to keep it going. But I do know that we need some crisis facilities here in Fort Bragg on the Mendocino coast.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. You said that you have commitments from stakeholders. Can you tell me what those commitments look like? Are they in writing? Are they binding?
Yeah, basically they're renting a facility, and they're giving it. They're going to give the rent to the facility to RCS, and that's the way I understand it. So there's not going to be any rent for the facilities. The city of Fort Bragg right now is just looking for other funding sources. They've actually, they're helping with the housing shortage for the homeless. With the name escapes me right now, but I think Bernie can get online and speak to that a little later. But those are the commitments right now. And then RCS, I think, can help manage this with some of their existing resources. They're going to have to hire more, but they have existing resources that are already in place that should cause great synergy with the operation of a crisis respite.
My chair, may I just continue with this thought for a moment?
Sure, please.
My recommendation would be that those commitments from said stakeholders be formalized, memorialized. I've seen RCS get hung out to dry by other service providers because all they had was handshake agreements, which has drastically impacted their operations at other facilities. I saw a Buddy Eller homeless center that was fully grant funded and built, that lost its funding from the county and then eventually had to close after millions of dollars of investment from the community. Those commitments need to be binding in some way. based on a number of experiences we've had here in the Ukiah Valley.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley. Commissioner Barish, you had comment?
Yes. First of all, I have only a qualitative impression that the crisis, the crisis in Madrone House has been very successful. The original idea was that it was going to divert patients who might have gone out of county to a PUF unit to this other facility and save a lot of funds for the county on that basis. You know, it would be nice now that we have 3 years of experience to have that quantitated and find out how much money has been saved. And I don't know exactly. I know that we're not supporting Madrone House. It would be nice to know where the funding for that is coming from, who's sharing that. And as Shannon says, to have things laid out so that we know how much money and where it's all coming from and what portion we're going to share. And then show some results of what has happened at Madrone House as far as crisis respite and cost savings.
Thank you, Commissioner Barish. Do I have further comment?
A quick one from Alman, please.
Yes, sir. Please go.
That I would ask that we continue with this and approve it, but, and I'll make a motion when the time is right, but these suggestions, certainly what Shannon Rose spoke of, it's very good, you know, to get it in contract form, but I believe that could be done after we approve it and before the Board of Supervisors votes on it, because they're the ones who are going to ultimately approve it. And so on our motion, we would just put a condition on there that we would like to have these concerns in writing, so we would all rest better. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allman. Further,
I appreciate that suggestion. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, further committee comment? Do I have any community comment, Lily?
Yes, a few. We have first up Anna Shaw.
Okay, Anna, please.
Hi, yeah, my name is Anna Shah. I've lived on the coast of Mendocino since 2008, and I was the exec director at Mendocino Coast Hospitality Center from 2010 till 2018, and we were a specialty mental health provider. Indeed, I think that agency still is. So I lived through the era of Ortner and then the era of RQMC, and so I left for another position based inland in 2018, but I'm here today as a private citizen to say that I strongly support this project. This is actually the perfect project. The partnership agencies are the perfect agencies. It's fantastic to locate this at the hospital. RCS is the natural provider. But what I really want to speak to is the real need for crisis respite on the coast. Often on the coast, we feel a little bit shortchanged. We do not have the level of population, of Ukiah and the level of need, but we are the next biggest urban area in the county, and we do have the next most significant level of need. And I can tell you that my experience of running specialty mental health and homeless services for all those years really showed how desperately we needed crisis respite. The need is real. This is the perfect project. It's a perfect fit for Measure B. I'm a picky, fussy person, and I could not find a single element, a single misstep in this project. There is nothing to stop this project going from success to success. And I really want to strongly recommend it to the Measure B committee today.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Lily, do we have another?
Yes, we have Dan Anderson.
Dan, please.
Hi, Measure B. It's nice to see you all again. I wanted to just respond to a couple of the comments there, one by Commissioner Riley, and then the question about the rental relief by Adventist Health. The subsidy from Measure B is not going to go to facilities. It's subsidizing services. So it's I think a little bit different than some of the previous questions about whether the funds could go to a facility. So what the Adventist Health team is doing is actually giving us 6 months of rent free, and that would be those dollars would be diverted to the remodeling that's needed in the building that has been designated to do this. So that's where the funding for that is coming from. And then the other comment from Dr. Barish, in terms of the funding for the Madrone House, Adventist Health has actually been providing that subsidy for the operations that aren't covered by Medi-Cal. So they've been doing that from the beginning, and it's been a real huge impact. There was a question about, what do we have statistics on sort of the benefits from that? I don't have actually a dollar figure, but I do have, we've seen a 14%, after we started the crisis respite, we saw a 14% reduction in hospitalizations that we believe were partially due or maybe wholly due. It's hard to untangle that completely. And that reduction continues to have, kind of held from the prior years. We've also seen a 12% reduction in the number of days that folks have been staying in the emergency rooms awaiting placement. So there's been, serious, real measurable positive outcomes from this. We can actually drill down and get a dollar figure if folks are interested. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that we will be paying rent to Adventist Health after the 6 months, and that's kind of where the needed subsidy from Measure B will help us on covering those costs, along with the things that Medi-Cal won't pay for. So anyway, just wanted to provide some clarifications there, and thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Lily, do we have anybody else?
Yes, next up is Sherry.
Sherry, please.
Hi, thank you. Sounds like a really wonderful project. No question about that. My concerns are, I heard that there was $1 million recommended for homeless housing, and that could be redirected toward this. And that seems like a big assumption, though, because the board may not want to redirect that money. And what about the need for homeless housing? So that was one concern I have. Another is, again, and I think I've been mentioning this for years now, is looking at a big picture of all the one-time projected expenses and the ongoing projected expenses to get a sense of how sustainable this is. I don't doubt that there's Measure B money for one-time expenses for this. It's the ongoing expenses where once that tax drops to 1/8%, whether it can accommodate all the ongoing expenses that are being created from a number of different programs or projects. And that and again, it's my hope that the Oversight Committee would have a long-term funding plan to make, so when decisions like this come up, it's fairly straightforward to look at the costs and determine whether it's doable. Like I said, I don't see, it's not a question of the project. It's just about the sustainability, and that's all. And I would love to see the Oversight Committee address those questions rather than kind of just, I guess, I don't know. I don't want to make assumptions there, but just that they would address that issue of sustainability. That's it. Thank
you, Sherry. Lily, do I have further?
Yes, one more. Bernie Norville.
Please, Bernie.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair Muschetti and committee. I've got just a really brief statement that I'd like to read, and then I've got a couple answers to some questions. I believe Mr. Anderson's already answered a few, but as you have our proposal and support letters, I'd like to say that the support letter from our ad hoc committee explains how we got to this point, all the work that's been put in. And the proposal explains really the why we are here in front of you today. I'm happy to answer any questions, but I'd like to explain briefly our plan and our responsibilities as we see them and understand them, and that we hope that you understand them as well. First of all, it's important to me that the committee understands and know that we know the responsibilities that come with a proposal like the one that we have before you today, and that we appreciate the value that a request for nearly $1 million holds. We are comfortable in the fact that we've done our due diligence in assessing the needs here on the coast. Our police department has the ability to track our calls for service that relate to mental health, which we're currently doing, which is going to give us a great baseline to our current situation and to gauge progress going forward. This will allow us over time to track our progress, and we expect to report back to both this committee and the supervisors any progress we have made and the lessons we have learned in dealing with this specific clientele. Lastly, it would be a failure on my part if I did not mention the commitment that Mr. Myrtle has made to our community. He has stayed in constant contact with the city and myself and has been a great representation on this committee, and we appreciate all the work he has done for us. So the $1 million, my understanding that was brought to the supervisors for housing on the coast was funding coming from service funds, not facility funds. The money that we're asking for are service funds, not facilities. So I think the dollars, as Dr. Miller, could easily be transitioned over to service, because that's exactly what we're asking for. We absolutely do plan to go to work and try and find more funds to keep this going after 4 years. Ideally, we're going to show what a success this program is here, and it's going to make it a little bit easier to get some money. I will say that we've had some brief discussions with Senator McGuire and his office. They are in support of this project. They've done a lot of work on crisis respite up in Humboldt County. We're not counting on any money coming from the state, but we certainly think it's an option. So I think at the end of the 4 years, what we're going to have at minimum is a great sample size about crisis respite and how it's going to work here on the coast. And I hope that you would take that into consideration when you decide to vote on this. And that's really it. Other than the facility, we're not asking you to invest in the facility. The facility is owned by the healthcare district and is leased to Adventist Health. Adventist Health has been a huge part of this conversation. Of course, they have a horse in the race here with their emergency room. And they've agreed to, their commitment really is offering up a facility that they're currently using. So they're going to have to move people out to do it. And then, like Mr. Anderson explained, they've offered up 6 months free rent in order to facilitate the small amount of remodel that would have to happen in the facility. So again, thank you all for your time and your consideration of this proposal.
Thank you. Lily, I know I have two more. Do I have Supervisor Williams? Did you want to speak?
No, my question was withdrawn, but I will recognize the hard work and the collaboration. It's really a relief to see this type of collaboration underway. Thank you all.
Thank you, Supervisor. Lily, I have two more.
Yes, Tabitha Miller.
Tabitha, please.
Thank you. First of all, I do want to just thank the committee, Measure B committee, for considering this item. As the city manager for Fort Bragg, having Mark Myrtle bring this forward is really important. And I think a couple things that I just wanted to point out One of the challenges in looking at this is really, quite frankly, how to fund these services. One of the unique factors in this project that we're proposing is that the services will be available for all. One of the challenges I think we've all recognized is that you may have private insurance, but you can't get services and you don't qualify for programs like this typically, or if you have Medicare. So I know that's part of the cost, is to make sure that we can provide the services to all that need it. It is certainly needed. Our police department, our local ER, and even just the community, the impacts of trying to deal with these without having resources to support the mental health needs of the coast have certainly been a challenge. And so I commend your questions. You know, I think we all want it to be sustainable. We will continue. The city is certainly committed to having this resource available long-term, and we will do whatever we can take, and we will certainly put in writing that commitment. And again, I just wanted to take a moment to thank the Measure B committee for all that you've done over the 3 years. It looks like we're really trying to make progress as a whole community, a whole county, and thank you.
Thank you. Lily, do I have one more?
Yes, Malcolm McDonald.
Malcolm, please. Malcolm, are you there?
He's muted.
Sorry, didn't press the mute button, unmute. Chair Muschetti and the rest of the committee, rarely do I step outside from behind the keyboard of my AVA writing duties, but I have some knowledge of how the ball got rolling on this project for the coast. And I can't recommend this project highly enough. There's nothing beyond 100%, so I give it my 100% backing. Everything that Mayor Norvell and City Manager Miller said, I agree with, and it just has my wholehearted endorsement. And I want to thank Dr. Barish for playing a tiny role at the beginning of this too.
Thank you, Malcolm. Anything else? Lily, do I have anybody else?
No, that was it.
Do I have any further committee comment?
Well, this is Allman, and I think that Mark should be the one to make the motion.
I have no problem, but any other committee comment? Mark, send your recommendation through.
I'd like to make a motion to provide supplementary funds of $240,000 a year for a period of 4 years to contribute the operations of a crisis respite service in the city of Fort Bragg for the Mendocino coast. Adding that the firm commitment from Advantage Health, RCS, RQMC, and the city of Fort Bragg be included in the services long-term agreement. You can clean that up at the end if you wish.
Thanks, Mark. Do I have a second on that?
Allman will second.
Okay. Lily, will you please call for the vote?
Commissioner Allman,
Aye.
Commissioner Angela,
Yes.
Commissioner Barish,
Yes.
Commissioner Diamond,
Yes.
Commissioner Myrtle,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Rich,
Yes.
Commissioner Riley,
Yes.
and Chair Muschetti.
I have to abstain. Thank you. So I found out that Andy is ready, so we will move back up so I do not forget to item 3B. Andy, please.
Can you repeat I have the contract up. What was
The question?
yes.
The
Go ahead,
question,
Shannon.
the question was whether the Adams contract is within its projected budget. Are they expected to finish their work within their budget?
Yes, I believe so. I don't see,
Shannon, let me, so yes and no. The answer is no, because what we originally projected their cost, the facilities did have to go back in front of the Board of Supervisors and ask for additional funding. for them to be able to complete their project. There were some items that were unknown at the time when they projected making things ADA compliant, due to the need to make the facility ADA compliant and repair 2 holes in the concrete and asphalt that were not projected in the original agreement, and so that nobody got injured on the property and that we met all our ADA compliance. There was facilities brought back for some, I think it's about $9,000, $10,000 above what the original contracted amount was.
So, Dr. Miller, the financial documents that we have in front of us show that there's a remaining balance left on their contract of $234,654. Sherry, I believe, indicated that there are some outstanding invoices already. Are the change orders that you described within that amount, or does this need to be revised?
The change orders, that probably, Andy would have to answer that if that aligns with the most current agreement that we got from facilities, which the total amount is $305,000.
Correct. I didn't see that. It needs to be revised because I didn't know about the 300, the other 10,000. I didn't get a copy of that.
It'll need to be revised by $9,265, Shannon.
Right.
And that's the additional dollars. So I think that's what it will go to make sure that we have all our ADA in compliance, specifically with the ramp was not ADA compliant. They didn't want anyone to get hurt. So there were a couple small things. So I think that should, but other than that, they are pretty much done with construction. There's the inside is pretty much complete. They have a couple things to do on the outside, and I haven't heard of any additional change orders for requests and funding.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Okay, thank you. So commissioners, are your questions answered? Yes? Okay, we will move on to 3E, update and discussion regarding the status of current Measure B projects. Dr. Miller, please.
All right, so just a couple things. We wanted to make sure, we're gonna make sure we try to do this report every month for you guys going forward. And as the programs get, or start providing more services, we'll make sure that there's more information provided within that report so that you guys can stay up to date on that. And of course, we will definitely make sure we give a report out as we do that each month. So we'll and if there's things you want to see on this report that we don't have, recommended suggestions, we'll go ahead and add to the report. But some of these programs, as you know, are just starting, so you'll see more information as we continue to grow the programs. So just really quick, we started with the CRT, Crisis Residential Treatment Facility. That has been going really well. We are projected still to finish construction and open the facility on time, which is really exciting. The construction team and architect have been doing a wonderful job. There are pictures at the bottom of kind of where the facility is. Of course, they're not most recent because as we take them, there's more construction done every day. But we're continuously seeing progress and don't project any major delays at this time that will delay the project. So we're really excited to see that, hopefully serving clients in the end of November, early December at the latest. And we do plan to try and do a grand opening. So that will be very nice. And we will make sure that everybody is invited to that for Measure B as we do that grand opening. And we have gotten a couple requests from the state of California, from the treasurer's office in particular, and a couple other individuals who have kind of watched Mendocino go through this process with their CHAFA grant funds. And they are also asking to please be a part of the grand opening. Kind of nice that the state wants to be here for that. So kind of nice to see that. I will also, let's see, The PUF, just a really quick update on the psychiatric health facility. We have been working with Nocton Lewis and AECOM to look at that feasibility of Whitmore, and they are projected to get us that, soon. There's a lot of questions. Will it have to be OSHPD? Will it not? Originally, we really thought it would. There's some possibility, and I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I think some of ours are that we won't have to go through OSHPD, which will actually really benefit us if we can't do that. Telecare, who is the individual that we preliminarily awarded the contract to run the psychiatric health facility, has been coming to the table and meeting with the architect team to really talk about what they would need within that facility to run their operations. And of course, they're a great partner, and definitely making it clear that it's obviously the county to make the decision, but here's some things that they do within their current facilities and what that would look like. We have had some different individuals walk through Whitmore, people who hadn't been there. The Behavioral Health Advisory Board asked to be able to see the inside of Whitmore because they've never seen it, to really see the grounds and get some feel for what could be put in that location if we move forward with Whitmore. And they were very excited with the location and the possibility of that being where the facility is. The mobile crisis response team, we have one rehab specialist, Katie Smallcombe, who was hired. She has trained and she has been doing she did a couple ride-alongs with the RCS crisis team and the sheriff's office. She is now up and running and is responding to calls where the sheriff's department as a dual response. And that has been working well and been successul. I gave a little bit of update on the community education awareness and support. The contract, the RFP went out, it closed. There wasn't a conditional acceptance for a selected contractor. That contract is in the final stage and will go to the board on August 31st. We talked a little bit about the regional training center. The contractor is pretty much done inside. They came out last week and finished everything by Wednesday, I think it was, and pretty much have the inside cleaned out. We were able to get a cleaner in there to really clean the building out because it was a kind of a mess from the contractor. They had the fire marshal out on Saturday, did the fire inspection for the new fire alarm system. That was passed with no issues. There's still a couple items that we need to do on the outside. One of them was they've got to split the meter between the substation and the training center. And then there's also the piece of having the ability to have a backup generator out there. So that was part of the plan. And so they still have to install that piece that where a generator could be plugged in if needed. I think those are the two main things that are still left on the training center. We know there's a couple small things, but the two main things. Really quick regarding the training center, we are working on finalizing policies and procedures and process for when in the future when people would want to utilize that facility. We are working with county council also on getting that process in place and using a similar format that we use for the veterans halls in Mendocino County. So kind of trying to keep that similar format. With COVID and especially the COVID surge, that facility probably won't be used anytime soon, just as we know that COVID is surging, and we're hopeful that will dissipate sooner than later. On a side note, the Ventas Hospitals has requested behavioral health to step up and provide some additional support for them in this time of need due to COVID and the fact that their beds are full in the ER and they are, and it's impacting them, their whole hospital. Two of the things that were asked was for transporting clients from the psych facility when the ambulance is too full to do that and don't have capacity. So giving first right of refusal to the ambulance, but they're also impacted and therefore clients are sitting longer. So we're working together with our partner RCS to start transporting clients. And we started transporting clients out of our ERs on August 16th with the ambulance company to reduce the strain on the ERs. We were also approached to open an alternative care site to house individuals while they are waiting for placement. it can take 1 to 2 to 3 days or more for an individual to get out of our emergency rooms and find placement at a psychiatric health facility. This is also really impacting our hospitals locally. If anyone's been paying attention, COVID is surging due to the Delta variant. We've seen an increase, unfortunately, in people we're losing, so deaths, and then a huge impact on our hospitals. So with that, we have moved forward with opening an alternative care housing sites temporarily while we're going through this surge. We had to look at what available facilities were available in the county. Only facility at this time that was available was the training center. So for a small couple months, the training center has been turned into an alternative care housing site for individuals awaiting a 5150 placement. So they can be transported from the local ER to the alternative care site. And once a bed is open, they're transported from there either by ambulance or the county to a psychiatric health facility. The hospitals are greatly appreciative, and this is allowing them to make some room in the ERs to serve our community and not have anyone go without being served. That has been up and running since Monday of this week. It was a 1-week turnaround quickly to assist our ambulance and our local hospitals. The crisis assessment and aftercare, that has already been up and running. And so we started that on July 1st to start serving individuals that do not have Medi-Cal. So individuals that are hospitalized do not have Medi-Cal, so they would normally not be entitled to this service. In the month of July, I think it mainly looked at the month of July, 6 individuals have taken advantage of that and been provided aftercare, and they were individuals that would normally not be provided this service because they do not have Medi-Cal. Let's see, that's pretty much, I was asked about doing the Mental Health Treatment Act audit. We were able to reach out to the auditor that currently works with the county. They are able to do the audit for Measure B. The contract is just about being finalized. There was one piece they needed from the contractor was their insurance. The contract is written, waiting for that one piece and signatures. They will be auditing 3 years. If we want additional years, we should let them know exactly what additional years we want. They can all go all the way back to the beginning, but it will cost about $6,000 to do the 3 years, and hopefully we'll have that within the next month or two. That's it. There are some pictures of the regional training center below. That's what it looks like today with the, with the paving done. It actually has the stripes now, the line stripes for parking. And that's the sign that they're in the process of working that will be hung out front, which the ad hoc committee, I believe, had approved, and then pictures of the CRT. And I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Do I have any commissioner questions or comments, please? Commissioner Barish, please.
I wonder if I could have just a little bit of detail about the mobile response team and just what that's doing, how it's doing. I assume that's just one van. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, the mobile crisis response team. We proposed with Measure B to fund 3 positions. We currently have 1 up and running, 1 funded. We were able to hire, and we have 1 running. We're trying to get the second one up. They have their own car. They respond with law enforcement. Sometimes they go with law enforcement, or they'll get called out by law enforcement to a response, and then they show up. So it is a dual response team. Law enforcement goes out with them, either in the same car or separate cars. We've moved to a little bit of a separate car model. It benefits law enforcement because if they come on scene and do not need us, do not need to stay, and we can take over the scene from them and release them back, that allows them to do that. And so that's sort of the model that that's been put in place. We are still trying to get the second sheriff office model up and running, and then we do have one of those models that we will be working with UPD on, Ukiah Police Department.
Thank you.
Yes.
Further? Yes, Commissioner Riley.
I have a question about programming at the training facility. Several months ago, maybe longer, I'm not sure, we talked about the development of an educational curriculum that would be associated with that facility so that it's not just a building, that there's actually programming and training that is scheduled with it. And my recollection is that the Behavioral Health Advisory Board was going to consider that. And I was wondering if anyone has an update on the status of that work.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley. Do I have any comment?
Sorry.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
The Behavioral Health Advisory Board has not yet addressed that matter, so we don't have an update in that regard.
Okay, any other further questions, comments, please? Oh, I got two. Commissioner Rich and then Commissioner Diamond, please.
This is regarding the audit contract, and it seems to me that since there hasn't been an audit and it's in the measure itself that there is this audit, that it would be prudent to go all the way back to the beginning of the fund and audit the whole shebang. That's just my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Rich. Commissioner Diamond?
Yeah, I want to thank Dr. Miller for sharing what's going on. I think it's good to see everything and to get updates. One just quick question. I didn't quite understand what was going on at the training center, kind of the emergency housing and moving people then into ongoing settings. Could you say that again? I didn't quite understand what was going on there. It sounded interesting and important.
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that, the hospital, Adventist, two things that Adventist, and of course there's more, asked for was an alternative option for housing individuals waiting for a bed at a psych facility and transport. And I talked about the transport. And so we had to come up with a place that if we were to move them out of the hospital, where could we keep them temporarily? Why we're waiting for placement. And one of the only open facility that was an option was the training center. So we did go ahead and move in there. It has 6 beds in the training center. It is set to house 6 clients at any time. Individuals go to the emergency room. It's required that they go to the ER. I wish we could avoid that, but we can't, especially in this time of COVID. No psychiatric health facility will take an individual that, one, hasn't had a medical clearance, 2, a tox screen, full labs, and a COVID negative test. So they have to stop in our ERs to get those items done. And then once they're able to be medically cleared and all that has been done, they can then now move over to the alternative care site while crisis works to find a placement at a psychiatric health facility. It's not serving minors at this time because that puts a risk, putting minors and adult population in the same building. So we're not going to take minors. Minors are not we have more adults hospitalized than minors. But it does definitely get the individual out of the ERs. It frees up a bed so that they're not, so that they can serve people quicker and better within our local ER. So it is staffed 24/7 with staffing, and it's meeting the client's basic needs while they wait for a placement. Adventist has been great stepping up to provide a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So they're providing breakfast, lunch, and dinner to us to provide out at the site. And the individual is overseen while they're waiting for placement. Crisis continues to present the individual, and when a bed is available, they are transported to that facility.
Thank you. The very creative response to a need, and I appreciate hearing about it.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other comments? Do I have any community comment, Lily?
Yes, Sherry.
Sherry, please.
Hi, this is just about the first update, the CRT facility that's in progress. And I remember asking the county whether or not there was room on that site to build a crisis stabilization unit, a 4-bed CSU, like similar to what was done in Yuba in Nevada counties. I believe it was Yuba, not Yolo. And anyway, so I was told there was space available. There was enough space on that CRT site to build a 4-bed facility. And I think it's, and heard that the training center has been used as an emergency place to have people go to from the ER. But I wonder if the committee is considering, still considering that CSU that was in the Kemper report, and possibly getting an estimate of what it would cost to construct that on the CRT site. So that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Sherry. Do I have any other, Lily, any other community comment?
No.
Okay, any further committee comment? Seeing none, we will move on to 3F, discussion and possible action regarding the replacement of the 3rd District Representative of the Mental Health Treatment Act Citizens Oversight Committee. Commissioner Diamond, you are on.
Thank you. Thank you, Donna. This is going to be my last day on the committee, and I wanted to tell you all what went into that decision for me, as I leave with some regret, and I want to let you know what this is about. So most of you know that I'm the 3rd District representative to the committee and have been meeting since January 2018 when we began. And really, I've been involved with mental health for a long time. And prior to being on the committee, I met with various members of the community to talk about the need for mental health facilities, and went to a number of gatherings with Sheriff Tom Allman, where we talked about our own personal interest and involvement in mental health services. I had shared at a number of gatherings my own personal experience with a father who had bipolar disorder and grew up in a family where there were mental health challenges. I talked about my own mental health issues and being bipolar myself and having gotten good treatment for my problems in this county, and appreciated the value of what's offered. So when the opportunity came to be on the committee, I jumped at that. I might say parenthetically that nothing good happens, I think, in any big community without a champion. And Tom Allman was the champion of getting this law passed. And I think we all owe a debt of gratitude to him for his leadership and tenacity in getting these things going, and then for all the people that have followed up and been part of this since this began. The reasons really that I've had to step down at this time have to do with the new demands really on my time. As many of you know, I'm a private health practitioner, and I have a PhD in international health. And when COVID hit, I've really been called upon to step up to some just new things in teaching and training, and really addressing a whole lot of more mental health crises and people in need in my practice. So even though we don't meet that often, I think we all spend a good deal of time helping in other ways. And so reluctantly, I've had to, in a sense, deal with what I thought would be somewhat of a temporary crisis with the pandemic, but as everybody knows, this has continued and I think is likely to continue on. So reluctantly, I felt like I needed to step down. I've talked to Supervisor Haschak about replacement, and I've made some suggestions of people that I think would be good. And I sent him an email with at least for me, having been on the committee now for some time, some of the most important things, at least that I saw, were needed in somebody that might step in. And I just read what I sent to him. So these are the things I said were important to me. A passionate interest in bringing about good mental health programs for our community, an ability to understand and navigate the complex structure of the Measure B board and its relationship to the community on one hand and the Board of Supervisors on the other. And really, this is something that's never been done before. So I think in some ways we've been making it up as we've gone, and I think we've done a pretty good job in getting to the place where we are now. Also, I said an ability to communicate well, flexibility to shift perspective as new information becomes available, and an ability to address the realities of fiscal limitations that we always face. And I said, no matter how much money we have in Measure B, there's never really going to be enough money to deal with all of the mental health services that are needed at any given time. And I think the truthful reality is that I believe, as somebody that's been working in this field for a long time, the effect of the pandemic on people's not only immediate needs for health services and mental health services, but ongoing needs are going to ripple out through many, many months, probably many years to come. So I just want to kind of finally to be able to just appreciate everybody that I've worked with, both on the committee and in the community during the 3.5 years I've been involved. And to I think this meeting, I obviously didn't know all that would be going on in this meeting as I knew it would be my last. But it seems to me that this is a good representative of the kinds of things that we have done and are doing together. So I feel like it's for me, a necessity that I leave now, but I will still be in the community and still be active. And so I will still be supporting what we're doing here behind the scenes and know that the committee and the work that still needs to be done will be in good hands. So thank you all, and very, very honestly, sincerely appreciate the connections that I've made with you all thus far and hope will continue in the future. So thanks again. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you for your service, Jed.
Thank you, Commissioner Diamond. I personally appreciate your service to Measure B completely, and thank you so much. You'll be missed. Does anybody else have any committee comment, please?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Hi, this is Carmel. I also want to thank Jed for not only his work on the committee, but also his very calm demeanor in the face of much controversy that has occurred over the last couple of years with this committee, in the committee and outside of the committee. I think Jed has been a stable force on the committee, and that he has really helped us and has really steered us many times to get to an answer. So I personally want to thank Jed for all his work, his commitment, and his compassion, not only to the work that we've done, the work that we'll do in the future, but certainly to mental health clients and families. Thank you, Jed.
Thank you, Commissioner Angelo. Anyone else? Do I have, Lily, I believe I have Supervisor Haschak?
Yes.
Okay, Supervisor, please.
Well, thank you, Chair Muschetti. I'd just like to really appreciate Jed Diamond for all the work he's done. He is a true public servant, and I think that all of his work and the passion behind this is just, selfless. And I've never gotten the feeling like he had anything except for the good, of the community at stake. And he's had many community forums. He would participate in my town halls. Anytime I needed him, he was there. He could give me back and forth feedback on any kind of ideas. And I really just appreciate all that he's done for the 3rd District and for the Measure B committee for the county as a whole, because I think that he has been a real solid contributor to the committee. And very much appreciated and will be missed. So thank you, Jed, very much for your service.
Thank you, Supervisor Haschak. Appreciate it. Do I have any other community comment, Lily?
No.
Okay. Any further committee comment? Okay. And again, Jed, thank you. And now you have my number. We can talk anytime.
Yes, we can.
Thank you very much. So we will move on to Lily asked for committee member reports, and then we will be adjourned. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you on October. Oh my goodness, I had it set up and I knew what I was going to say. October 27th, is that right?
Yes.
Pretty sure. Okay, good deal. Please, Lily.
Commissioner Allman?
I think he had to leave.
Okay. Commissioner Angelo?
Hi, yeah, this is Carmel. I don't have much to report except that, we certainly are in this COVID surge. I think part of the problem that we're in right now is certainly just the fatigue, and that no one really wants to deal with this or hear about it anymore. But, yesterday we had 70 positives. We've had up to 90 positives. I mean, it's been unbelievably challenging. And I want to commend Dr. Janine Miller. I'd like to do it among her peers and with this committee. What's happening at Adventist Health is what we feared last year. And the fact that the beds are full of COVID patients, the ICU is full, and clearly the problems are the challenges in the emergency room. I also want to say that I think Adventist Health is a champion today, and the work that they've done, the doctors and the nurses, the respiratory therapists, anyone who works in those hospitals, the fact that they go in every day and they continue to do this work, and it's just tiring, and they continue to go. And so, much appreciation for their work. But I just want to really bring your attention to what Dr. Miller is doing, and the fact that the emergency room, we have been working with Adventist, and we know that the emergency room overnight has just been inundated, and it's day after day because our numbers are so high of COVID, and we don't see this going away anytime soon. We haven't even gotten to flu season. So the fact that we have developed a workaround, or Dr. Miller has developed a workaround inside of 1 week, that the training center was transformed into an actual facility that could house mental health clients as they wait for transportation or they wait for a placement somewhere is unbelievable. And what you don't know is Dr. Miller is actually working the night shift. She worked the night shift last night. She'll be working again over the weekend. So I realize that this is a love fest here with Dr. Miller, but I really want you to understand the dedication and what this one clinician is doing and the work that she's done. Any one of us could land up in the emergency room any time of the day or night, and the fact that mental health clients are getting care that they need, they're getting that outside of the emergency room, so that emergency room bed is freed up for either a COVID patient, most likely, or one of us, heart attack, stroke, anything. So I just really wanted to bring your attention to that, because to me, it's phenomenal how quickly the county has jumped in under the leadership of Dr. Miller to work with the facilities, all three hospitals, to have placement for our mental health clients. And so, again, I want to thank you for allowing me to pontificate here, but this is really a big deal. And this is really, really good work. And the county rarely gets any credit for doing any good work, even though everybody on this committee has worked really hard to try to get us to where we are today with all the services, additional services that are being provided and will be provided with Measure B money. So again, I want to personally thank Dr. Miller for her work, obviously the hospital, but the work that Dr. Miller is doing to assist with our mental health clients and get them to the appropriate level of care. So thank you very much for listening and allowing me to say what I've said. Thank you.
Commissioner Barish?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Diamond?
Yeah, I'll just make a quick addition to my own report. And it's always true that the people that are the busiest are the ones that do more. because they're dedicated. And as somebody who's both worked in the field now for 40, I don't know, close to 50 years, I guess now, I know that if you're going to do it over a long period, and I've been doing it longer than most, so we have to take care of ourselves. And I just want to say to everybody who's on this committee and who's in this room together, as well as the people that are in the community that are listening and watching this, we have to take care of ourselves and take care of each other. And this is not easy to do when there's a need and we all step up for it. So I just want to encourage two things. One, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and to recognize as a community the stresses that we're all under, and to be kind to all of the people that are on the front line. Even at times we get frustrated or we get angry or we get irritable. Just remember that we are all in this together, and this community, I think, is an incredible grouping of energies and people and committed souls that I hope can continue for a long time. So be good to each other. Thank you.
Commissioner Myrtle?
Nothing to report. And thank you.
Commissioner Miller?
Nothing to report.
Commissioner Rich?
So two things. I too want to echo the praise for the Behavioral Health Services Department for stepping up. I also want to commend RCS and RCS Crisis for really going the extra mile to pull this together. It's hard work, and it's very much needed and appreciated. So secondly, I wanted to let everyone know that the 3-year Mental Health Service Act plan is open for public comment and will be for the next month. And so it is available on the website should you have any comments, and we'll be holding that public hearing at the next Behavioral Health Advisory Board meeting. So opportunity to weigh in on the services provided under the Mental Health Service Act in our county.
Commissioner Riley?
No report.
And Chair Moscotti?
Nothing to report. Thank you, everyone. We will adjourn. We'll see you October 27th. Stay safe. And thank you so much for being on this committee. Jed, again, thank you for your services. Have a great afternoon, guys.